partnering with integrity means I'm here to stay. As in, I love this industry. I'm more excited about it than I have ever been. As a matter of fact, I am like the tail number on my jet. I'm in 24/7. Are you?
We all got the same amount of time, and it's going to take a time, and it depends on how we use our time. But what do you got your mind set on? What do you got your mind set on? I love what Ray said earlier, and that's why Mike had her say it, because it's what you got your mind set on is what you're going to get. And she's got her mind set on agency manager by the end of November. And it's going to take time, and it's going to take money, and it's going to take patience. And Mike, I love that I have an opportunity to be a partner with $1 billion company. I said it at the agency managers meeting in Tampa. I was glad to hear your wife repeat what I had said at one of these meetings, I think at TWC about a month back, because it resonated. And it is something that's major, and all of us have an opportunity to grab it.
World, watch. You're gonna see something you ain't never seen before. It's about ready to see what the Alliance can do, baby.
Alaska, baby. The last great frontier. Maybe, I don't know, Alaska. It's cold up there, so I got my jacket on, and they got ice glaciers. We're going to cruise Alaska. It's not just a cruise, it's a journey. The ovation of the seas. We are going cruising. And where are we going while we're cruising in Alaska? Juneau. Yes, I know, it's Juneau. It is the largest capital in the United States of America. You're gonna see orcas, you're gonna see humpback whales, you're gonna see them sea dogs, you're gonna see the sea sails, you're gonna see everything up in Juneau, because Juneau. Have you ever been dog sledding? You get on the back of the sled. Oh, look, or you down like this right here. You like this right here. There's a country song that says, if I never get to see the Northern Lights, I bet you go on this cruise, you're gonna get to see the Northern Lights.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Wednesday Call Live. Brought to you today from beautiful Treasure Island, Florida. Now, let's hear it for our host, our president and CEO, Andy Albright.
Woohoo! Woohoo! Hey, Soto, where you located?
I'm in the corporate office right now, Andy. I'm in your building.
I'm trying to figure out what in Burlington, North Carolina.
Yes, sir.
All right. If that the shade over your right shoulder, I'm not sure if you can. Yeah, it's just got a bad glare coming in because of the bright sunlight. Go the other direction. Perfect. Way better. 100 times better. Thanks. See your pretty face too. When you got that glare behind, when it's bright light coming behind you, I can't see your front. Jake, Beret is traveling. She's in the car.
She is running appointments. Yes, sir. Yeah, I think she's in between them.
Picking up checks. What's up, Bill?
What's up, man? How you doing?
Excited, nervous.
Same. What you nervous? You don't get nervous, dude. Stop that.
Dude, we're on the cusp, Bo. We're right here. June 2.
June 2.
Like another run, Bo.
I hear you.
Jake and Bale, I'm gonna put y'all together up here.
Yes, sir.
All right. We got all kinds of crazy stuff going on. Let me get the first crazy stuff. Jera Gonzalez has now qualified as agency manager. Woohoo! That's incredible. Riddle just qualified as junior board member. He'd be getting a ring. Woohoo! Linda Goebel qualified as district manager. Linda and Keith. And Jason and Olga Mathis qualified as national manager. Woohoo! I know they're going crazy, fired up. People are moving up. Volume is ticking up like a deadgum annuity. Just tick. Nothing backwards, everything forward. That is crazy talk. We got all kinds of contests. We got Brian Tracy going to jump on here in a few minutes. So I want to get let's see. Joe Dukes is fired up about Jared going agency manager. Hey, let's pull up the 40-40 Fight Club. real quick, or go to the leaderboards. Just pull the leaderboards up. Yeah, a couple things I want to point out here. Okay, everybody, look, Jason and Olga right there, and Jared Gonzalez right there, smoking, putting in the wit and the production. Okay, let's go down to the next one. Tia, I like those 40-40 hats. I've been wearing mine out. Hey, now this is the most critical. Jake, Bell, Bill, Soto, Beret, Jake and Beret. This is number of legs, number of organizations at our family reunion. We took out agency managers. I'm not sure if she does one. Oh, yeah, we got an agency manager one below, so I'm going to go with this. All right. Mike and Carrie Williams. You know what? Let me scroll down and let's look at the agency manager one real quick, just so people have an idea. So leading the country with WIT ticket purchase, 23 different organizations. So, you know, when I'm talking to new people, there's a guy that Brandon Manley is working on recruiting, and I'm just trying to get through to him. Can you imagine money coming in from 23 different sources, just being deposited in your account? And each of those sources has 1, 2, 3, 10, or 500 people in that one source of revenue coming in. It's just, I mean, I'm just sitting there looking at him, and he's like, well, I'm going to be honest with you. I make $190,000 a year. I'm just going to let you know, plus benefit. And I'm like, yeah, I know, it's great, man. Wow. Man, you know, what do you say? Because you don't want to hurt somebody's feelings at all. But I'm going like, you could do that just selling insurance. But you add 10% spread on the organization, 5% spread, 20% spread, 15% spread out over 23 different money-making machines. Wow. Now, Adam Katz is one of my best friends. He's driving down here right now with Emily. And can't wait to see him. He's one of my best friends. He is one of the deals that I've set up, one of the people, and he has 23 different organizations coming to him. I had a friend, Jake, still have a friend. He's got a couple of jets and crazy collections of cars. And his hangar is just like 4 hangars down from me in Burlington. And he said, man, do you let anybody know that you have a jet or that you have a car? Like, yeah, why? He said, man, I can't tell my people that. I said, why? He said, because they'll want one. I go, don't you want them to want one? I want Jake and Bell to have a jet. I want Bill to have a jet. But that's number of organizations that Adam Katz has set up that's going to give it to Adam Katz. I'm just like, woo, woo. Okay. All right. Come back to my leaderboard, the agency managers. Tia, thank you. All right. I want to see who got under Mr. Katz. Diane Lampy has 20 different organizations rolling into family reunion. Paul Roberts has 19. Jason and Olga have 18. So now if I'm Jason and Olga, I'm looking at my number one organization and seeing how many groups they have coming. Okay. So if it's Terry Edwards, I'm wondering, what does Terry Edwards have? Well, there he is. Terry Edwards has 15 coming. So then I look to my number 2. So in other words, Jason and Olga hired Terry Edwards. Okay. Hey, Jake and Bell too. One thing you should pay attention to is the simplicity. Like, you think what I'm saying, everybody understands it. They don't. As simple as I try to put it. Other people, Bill, they don't try to simplify it for you. They want to be amazing and they want to skip out the little stuff. So getting people to understand the little details. So Jason and Olga hired Terry Edwards. And then Terry, if you'll see he's number 8 on here, he has 15 different organizations coming. So their number one leg, Jason and Olga's number one leg, has 15 legs going. I know Jason and Olga have 18 organizations, but one of them is Terry. So then you go to what's their number 2 leg, and how many people do they have coming? So it's just this game that Jason and Olga is playing. And I'm playing the game because I'm wanting Jason and Olga out of the 18. I want to know what's their first leg have. And then Terry Edwards, he's like, he wants to look at his 15. So Jake and Bell, I see y'all on here with 12 different organizations. That is amazing. Marcus, let's see, Andy Riddle has 12. Marcus and Carla have 10. So then what you want to know next, Bell, is how many total do y'all have coming to the meeting? So you've got 12 different legs. So you think maybe that's 24 because it's 12 couples. Some of them are not, won't bring their spouse. So that might be 18 people. Then how many does number 1 have? And then how many's total you've got coming? Like right now I'm looking at mine. I'm going like, okay, I got 1,800 people total coming. How many of them are in your hierarchy somewhere? And how many in the first leg? How many in the second leg? All right. But Marcus Richardson's got 10, Belair 10, and Jason Tony 10. Bill, you're right there on that cusp of double digit with 9 different organizations coming in. All right.
Got to get more. We're going to get more.
Always that one more.
Yep.
Jason Tony, okay. Fitz has 9 right there with you. Mike Morisi has an 8. Brandon Manley has 8. Hartlib 7. Linda Goebel 7. Mr. Soto, there's your man Soto. So Soto has 7. You're one of them, and you have 9. So he's got 7. You're one of his 7, and then you have 9. So if your number 1 guy had 7 or 9, that'd be a smoking leg. Does that make sense? That's the whole concept. All right. Wow. It's interesting because you go to agency manager, you're out of the $100,000 competition. You're more building your agency. Now you go to your people. How many people do you have? So scroll back up to the non-agency manager, see where that money's going. Right now, if nothing changes, Mike and Carrie, and by the way, Mike and Carrie, you got 8 signed up. You want to get 8 there. Actually, you want to keep going and have 12, but it's how many show up in person, not just get them signed up to show up. Mark Muller has got to be fired up out of his mind with 8 different organizations coming. Rogers and Kim have 7. Buck has 7. G. Chris has 7 organizations. Jake and Veray have 6. So how about that? Jera Gonzalez just went agency manager, and she's got Jake and Veray on track to win $6,000. I mean, I want to ask the guy that makes $192,000. When's he had? Could you get a $10,000 bonus on top of that? It's real money. Lua Body has 6. Jan Miller 6. Mia Fennell 6. John Thorman 6. Paul Jara has 6. Megan Wood has 5. Look at that. Megan Wood has issued since June. Is that right? Production through 5/31. Yeah. In 1 month, she's paid a month and 2 days, paid $114,000 in premium, and has 5 legs coming to the organization, to the family reunion. So when a person says, I'm focusing on recruiting, well, I would hope you have 5 different legs coming. And when they say I'm focused on selling, I would hope you have $30,000 or $40,000 in sales so far. Does that make sense? So what if you focus on both? Well, Megan Wood's focusing on both. That's a great example. 5 wide and 114,000. Mark Hutchinson has issued 39,000. By the way, Hutchinson has all those network marketing guys he's hired. This is a shout out to those boys and girls. Hutchinson's has 5 organizations coming, 5 in width. And so the question is, those recruiters, those builders, right? He's kind of competing. He's not competing with them. He wants to have his builders, these network marketing people that are really good at recruiting. He wants them to have more people come into the convention than he does. But right now he's leading, he's setting the example of all of them by having 7 legs coming. Mark Hutchinson listed there at number 13, and he's issue paid $39,000. Not bad. Marty Dozier has 5 coming, and he sold $33,000. That's strong. Danny Johnson has sold 12, and he's got 5 coming. Dalen has got 5 coming. She sold 11. James and Cherish Obar, 7,900, and 5 different organizations coming. I love it when people just get started and then they show up on these numbers. Stan Ulrich has 5, and with $2,500, I think chicken, that's real money. That's Michael Guerrera, number 19 down there. That's Michael Guerrera, who has 5 legs coming. So Mark Hutchinson hired a guy who's not showing up on Leaderboard, who hired a guy who's not showing up on this contest, who hired Mike. And Mike has 5 coming. So of all those guys, you see what I'm saying? Like, it's just, you want to say Hutch will have 12, the guy he hired will have 12, the next guy will have 12, the next guy will have 12. But usually, if you turn the leg sideways, in other words, you think going down is different in width, but you look at your width deal, and you'll have this guy's got 5, this guy's got none, this guy's got 2, this guy's got 5. Well, if you turn the leg like that, it looks like Mark Hutchinson. Does that make sense? So that's why you got to keep going deeper, because that's just the way it's going to look. I mean, you think about it. Soto, how many people in between you and Bill? Do y'all know how many quit?
One. Between me and Bill.
Just one, that tall
Well,
skinny dude?
no, his wife. So it's Kelsey, Miles, Brandon.
Yeah. And weren't they separated or divorced or something? Because it wasn't like it was one couple. It was 2 separate people.
Right. Yeah. So I try to hire her.
I remember that.
I tried to hire her when I started here back in 2012. She was with another company, and then when I came back, I called her again. That's how I found Bill.
Yeah. And so that's why you always wiggling, squirming, travel. That's what I'm telling Riddle. If you got somebody, go and call their list, and go again and call their list. You're just going to keep doing this, because in WIT, when you hire a new leg and they have 12, nobody gets excited but you. But when you hire somebody 7 in depth and they get 12, everybody gets excited. And it's almost like if they don't, they're not intelligent. They're not understanding the mathematical version of this program. Make sense? That's why I love this contest. It shows you what the agency managers have, and then it shows you who's the next agency manager. It's you've heard, we've all heard those stories of a person bought a lottery ticket and they won the lottery. It's the people that are buying lottery tickets that are going to win the lottery. I know it's going to happen. You hire one person and they blow up. I get it. But more likely the guy that keeps hiring and then keeps getting depth and then gets them to the reunions, conventions, that's the person that's going to be the next agency manager. Take us back to the non-agency manager, please, Tia. How much time we got? We're running tight. All right. Alan Pooley has 5. Stephanie Rodriguez 4. Him and Nikki Long. There you go. Now we're talking. So Jake and Bell, you got your man there. He's got 4 legs coming. So the concept is, you got the concept. Jera Gonzalez, she's got 4 legs coming, just recognized as new qualified agency manager. Annette Hare has 4, and the Argenios have 4 legs coming. Look, Hal and Ellen Rosen right behind them with 4. Can't scroll down a little bit. Let's see who else has 4. Oh, a lot of 4. Dennis Lyons. I'm not sure who the David is. David under Mr. Davies. Chantel under Cat. I met her. Diana. Jack Ungaro. Sid and Steve Maxim. No, that's not Steve Maxim. He's under Paul Roberts. I'm not sure what Steve M that is. There's Steve Maxim on down there with 3 legs coming, who's number 41. Okay. How about that? You see, if you don't think one makes a difference, look how many they got number 4. One more person. You've heard me say this, Brandon, and I'm going to say it again to you. You don't know how hard I will fight for a leg. Like, I have people there like, I don't know, is it worth it to fly out there? I was like, is it another leg? Is it another organization? It's worth it. Go. That's why I said when Soto put out his schedule and you and him are teaming up, Bill, you get 2 studs like y'all traveling around and putting in wit everywhere you go. I don't care who you are. Like, the good news, the bad news, because you're 6'8", it ain't going to help you. Right? Because you never got a paycheck. And did you ever get a paycheck in the NFL? You got one paycheck. Because you only got one paycheck. It's not going to hurt you or help you. Nobody cares. I mean, I'm proud of you. Mama's proud, right? Brother's proud. Cousin's proud. Did they ask you for any of it?
They couldn't. It was only $2,000.
Hard to divide that up, huh?
Yeah, amongst 7 people.
Well, you got to check, man. Most people ain't never got paid from the big leagues, and you did. But you look. Oh, there she is. Hey, Bray. You coming back in and going back out?
Yeah, I thought I was going to pick up 1 check, picked up 3, so it took a little longer. We're good.
Hey, happens. Shout out to the Edwards team. Y'all got a bunch of people watching. Cleveland, Ohio. Yeah, that's good stuff. Oh, my God. Oh, my goodness. Bell Kraus. Y'all had $166,273.99 deposited in your account since the beginning of the year. But, you know, and I don't, if I could see how much of that's override money and see, it's just unlimited. That's why, look, it's just cold chill still. I've been doing this 21 years now, and I just think about it and I go, oh my God, what they can do with this. Let's look at these more leaderboards. Thank you, Tia. Let's go back and let's scroll through these. Brian's going to jump on here any minute now. All right, here we go. $100,000 to be given away. Already won the cruise. I love it. Jake and Beret, congratulations. Look like y'all just popped over. Mercedes and Gus right behind. Stephanie Rodriguez right behind. Robert Wilson right behind. I love it. I love it. All this stuff posted up. Managers, Mr. Wood, Mrs. Wood, Mr. Davies. Remember this. Don't just win the cruise. Go above the cruise. So we split up $1 million. If we did it today, y'all would get $142,000 bonus, Bell. Megan would get a $410,000. All right. So this is bonus on top of winning the Alaskan cruise. So everybody knows. All right. Make sure your people know about this. Show it to them. Explain it to them. You'll be surprised, Bill, how many people don't get it. They go, oh, I didn't know that. Brandon Manley was telling me he flew out to see one of his guys in, I think, El Paso. And he said something to him. I think he told him how much money he'd made so far this year, or he's only been with us a month and a half. And then he divided it into the number of hours he was working. And the guys just goes, and Brandon said, I thought I had told him that and explained it to him 5 different ways. But in person, he explained it to him and he goes, oh my God, I need to quit my job. Right. And start putting in 50, 60 hours in this business instead of giving them 50 or 60 and giving yourself 10 or 12. Just like that. He's committed. But it helps a person when you commit to them, traveling's huge. All right. Scroll it down. Let's see what else we got here. Is there more? 10,000. Gary, good job. Keep going. Mike and Noel Lemontovich, good job. All right, here we go. 398,000 issue paid so far, 5 months in. $400,000, 5 months in, 800 applications. And by the way, Megan, she called me earlier. I was busy as everything, was not able to take her phone call. But almost like find out what she needs. All right. Jake and Bell, y'all are at 263. Looks like you're gaining a little bit on her. 154,000. Jeff and Kelly Turner, Jeff Turner, Kelly Haney teamed up for 194. Mark Hutchinson, 171,000. He went from like number 14 in the company to number 4. He's just been hammering. I think since he hired all those people, those networking guys. Joe Walker, smoking. Yankees, Vinod, Brant in jail. Brant number 8. Jake and Beret in the country, baby. In the country. Number 9 in the country. 145,000. Bubba, 143. There's our top 10. All right. What's next? Do we have more you want to take a look at? Oh, for the month. Oh, you got to say, Megan issue pay. This is the first time in the Lemontovich history of their company that they've had somebody at 100,000 issue paid in a month. 175 out. God. I want to, you know what I want to know is how much she had deposited in 1 month. I think I can do that. Now I don't want to. I want to know. I'll do it. I ain't gonna do it right now. Tia might pull it up and text me, or Robbie Kraft pull it up and text me what she's made deposited in her checking account this month. That'd be cool. All right. Promotions, contests, Brian Tracy. Oh, so we got every little thing that you can get to people. Bree Goat will be performing at Family Reunion. I got that confirmed. Fidelity Guarantee. Thank you. All right. So they have asked, can they spend some more money? They would like to fly. Is it 10? I'm not sure if they're going to pay all 10 to fly in, but they're going to fly you in and pay your hotel. Top 10 Fidelity and Guarantee producers, June 1st through August 31st. If you've been thinking about IULs, now's your time to revisit F&G. We will do like we did the last time. We will have a training that everyone will be invited in at the Fusion. I say everyone. We'll probably limit it to 120 people, the most that room can hold. And then we'll say when they register. So what we should do is let people register. Give them when we pick the dates out. Fly you in June 1st, August 31st. I'd be curious how many people like fishing down here. We need to take a cruise ship out and do some fishing while we're down here in Florida.
Andy, I'm confirming that the F&G is paying for airfare and lodging for top 10.
Oh, okay. Beautiful. And then there's 7 veterans and then top 3 rookie. So they're calling a rookie if you started after January 1 of 18. So nice. They're actually giving you 2 years. That's pretty daggum strong. Actually 2.5 years and calling you a rookie. So 3 rookies and 7 veterans. I love it. Date has not been set. Okay. Are you coordinating Brian Tracy joining in, or is he just logging in, Tia?
Yes, I am.
Is he on yet?
Not yet.
The man, Brian Tracy, getting ready to join us. Lemontovich. Megan had 71,000 deposited this month. This, according to the Lemontoviches, 71,000 for a month of May. So y'all know we're doing Thailand in Aruba. Thailand's still being shut down from COVID. Rather than not take a test, and rather than not take a trip, rather than not get to go somewhere, we are excited about Aruba registration. So if you won the Thailand, you should have received a registration for Aruba. Pass the word, especially your team. Make sure they look for that email about Aruba and get registered. We're doing plane flight. So Megan Wood had 71,000 deposited last month. And she has also this month already had 11,698 deposited. What is today? June 2? June 2, she's had $12,000 deposited. I mean, what does that do to your bank account? It frees you up to think about different stuff. All right. If I could memorize, I had to read this over and over again. If I could memorize it and do it, I don't know what my life would be like. Goal setting. Before he gets on here, I hope you are thinking about goals on your number one goal needs to be number of people to family reunion. I'm just telling you, they get around, they shake Tim Goad's hand, they meet Gay, they talk to Megan Wood, Jane Albright smiles and encourages them. They meet Leventoviches, and they just sit there and they go, what am I waiting for? I met Belle Krause. She's a mommy. Look at the money she's making. What am I waiting for? It just blows people's mind. So your goals, your Brian Tracy goals, your what do I want? How do I get it? Wanting the stuff, wanting the recognition. I love people that say, I don't need the recognition. Okay. Cash is recognition, right? We recognize you've done work. Here's some cash. Well, I meant the trophy. Oh, okay. You can give away the trophy. What do you want? Freedom. How do I get it? You've got to understand, how do I get it? You give opportunity to people and you set the example. Bought your ticket, got your hotels reserved, sell like crazy so they know to do it, and then get them to family. I'm telling you, the how is the meeting. It's the association. The people say, how come some of you guys they stagnate or they don't seem to have gotten the results others get? It's who they're hanging out with. 99% of the time, it's somebody in their ear, meaning good meaning, good-hearted people that want them to succeed, but they're telling them how to succeed and they don't know. Because you take your top 5 people that you hang around in your life, divide their income by 5, that's your income. You get around other people that have higher income, it will jerk you up to a higher level. It's like magic. You don't have to be a genius to do that. So your job, I used to love that roller derby. Is the roller derby where the girls do it, going around in a circle in the ring, rollerblades, and then they want to get their team to finish, and 2 of them would grab one of the girls and sling them up, throw them up, or they try to bust through so that their team would come out front. That's really what you want to do with your number one person, Soto. Go down in depth under Bill, take a picture of them, send them to me. Post them on your WhatsApp. Post them on your any kind of combo, any kind of team conversation. Put them on. I love what Terry Edwards is doing with his new people that come on board. Welcome aboard the team, Mary. Welcome aboard team. Somebody wrote $5,000 first week. the more you can get that person and sling them up to the top, get them recognized by Stephen Davies, get them recognized by Andy Riddle, get them recognized by Paul Robert. What it does, it puts a lift underneath them to continue to perform so that they hang around those same people. It's Jake and Bray, y'all tracking on this? By the way, your children, how old are your kids now?
5. Our younger one is 5, and our older daughter is 7.
Okay, I couldn't read at that age, but yours probably can.
7 can, yes.
If you can, well, if one can't read yet, read to them. But put the book and hold your finger and read some of those kids' books out of our store. It's going in their head. I would even bribe them, not bribe, incentivize. You read this book, I will give you 3 lollipops. I will give you a carton of ice cream. I will give you whatever they like. Getting them to associate by reading this book changes everything. And the more times you can get them to associate, changes everything. I see a cool name popped up on our Zoom. Tia, if you want to, this book, he told me, has been translated into over 50 different languages, millions of copies sold around the world, changed lives, made a difference, made an impact. And we got him here today. I'm so excited to say hello to him again. It's been about a month since I chatted with him on a Zoom call. There he is, Mr. Brian Tracy. Looking good, brother. We still got you muted, brother. Oh, nice. Nice book. Tia, do we have him muted, or is he hadn't unmuted himself?
Yes.
There we go.
There we go. Sorry about that.
No worries. What was that green book you had that looked like money?
Yeah, it's my millionaire book. I love the subject. I wrote a book on millionaires as well, and this is probably better. This is great.
I'm studying the book. I'm studying this one right here.
Oh wow, great! And I've also got some coins.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I'm prepared. Are you guys prepared? I'm prepared. I've got. You want coins? I've got 3 coins. Look at that.
Each year. You got each year covered. We all got ours. What do you want? How do you get it? I wanted to encourage some young people and change their lives, and I thought, how do I do it? Brian Tracy. He can change a life with a word.
Well, thank you. If you invited me to speak, I am ready to go. I've got a seminar for you here, and it's all based on what you and I have talked about, and especially it's based on how do you become wealthy in this industry. And you know, many years ago, I was starting from nothing. I was working with a more senior salesperson, and he was encouraging me to get into financial services like you. And he said, if you want to make peanuts, grow peanuts. If you want to make money, sell money. And I never forgot that. Sell money. That's where the money is. And so that's why we're here today, is get really, really good at helping people to use their money well. And surprisingly enough, a lot of it sticks to you. And that's what we want, is the better you get at helping other people to be financially successful, the more of it will stick to you. And the more you will become financially successful and faster as well. And of course, what you have here, when I started off, I didn't have any training. I didn't have any specialization. I didn't have anybody helping me. basically had to figure it all out and work it all out by myself, which I eventually did. You know, in life, your success is largely going to be determined by how determined you are to achieve success. One of my goals. That's why I like this book. I had Andy and Missy send me this book. I love the subject of being a millionaire because everybody wants to be a millionaire, and very, very few people accomplish it. And I had an experience, and this is just sort of a preamble to my presentation for you, Andy. But I had an experience when I was about 35. I decided I would like to be a speaker. And I began working away. It's very, very hard at the beginning to do anything. And I got a call from a fellow a gentleman who had a international organization. He had about 800 people in it all over the country, Canada and the US. And they were having their annual meeting. And he said, all my people want to become wealthy. He said, could you do a talk on becoming a millionaire? And I said, of course, sure. You always say, of course. That's my specialty. You always say that's my specialty. So he said, well, great. He said, well, the date is this, about 2 months away. And we'd like you to do a 60-minute talk on how to become a millionaire. I said, absolutely. I hung up the phone and I realized that all my life I'd been wanting to be a millionaire. I've been thinking about millionaires and looking up at millionaires and reading about millionaires and everything else. And I didn't have the slightest idea how to become a millionaire. So I did what was life-changing, and I'll tell you about it. But basically, I did a full court press for 2 months studying millionaires. And what I found is, surprise, surprise, there are an enormous number of studies on millionaires. You know, everybody, I'm sure, has heard about The Millionaire Next Door by Thomas Stanley. And he was actually by Thomas Stanley and another gentleman who I worked with extensively over time. Thomas Stanley didn't actually do the work. But basically, they took about 10,000 people who had gone from rags to riches, become millionaires, and interviewed them and said, how'd you do it? And wrote it down. And basically, there's like crosses where people did this. And it turns out that everybody did certain things in a certain way. And if you do the certain things in a certain way, you increase the speed. As I say, it's like stomping on the accelerator. You increase the speed at which you become wealthy. And so I began to study self-made millionaires, and I began to practice what self-made millionaires do. And surprise, surprise, it's a little bit more involved, but in less than 5 years, I was a millionaire. Basically from rags to non-rags, I say it, rags to non-rags. And I was a millionaire. And so I began putting together systems, and I'm going to share with you some of the things that I learned that can increase the speed at which you become wealthy. And if you will follow these ideas, follow what Andrew teaches you, then you will achieve your goals much faster than average people do. So I'm ready, Andy. You and I have talked enough. I'm ready to give my presentation on how to become a millionaire, and you just tell me go, and I'll go. And I promise you that if you do these things, it will work for you. It will work for you. It's I say it's very much like a recipe in the kitchen. You get the recipe and you follow the recipe and you practice with the recipe. Eventually you master the recipe so that you can go into almost any kitchen anywhere. And if you have the right ingredients, you can just whip it up. You can whip up the dish. And our dish, yes, is financial success. And if you're going to be financially successful, why do we want to become financially successful? The answer for me is freedom. I have a good friend who came to my office a few years ago, a very smart guy. He was a publisher in New York for 25 years, and they get a lot of really good material. And so I said, well, what are you doing with your life now? He said, well, I'm working on values. I said, really? He said, yes. He said, I've decided that everything in life comes from your values, which is a true statement. Your values are almost like the spine of your mental and emotional life. And you change your values, you change your life. Anyway, he said, so what we're doing now is this week, I am asking one question over and over again. And the question is, what is my most important value in life? What is my most important value in life? And it's very important that you know that, because your values are the essence of who you are as a human being. If you change your values, and you can tell what your values are by looking at your behaviors, because your values precede your actions. So anyway, so I thought about that, and he said, don't just ask the question, and love, money, success, freedom, travel, the easy ones. Keep asking the questions. What is my most important value in life? And the way you can tell is by looking back at your behaviors, because your behaviors are always a manifestation of your values. And if you change your values, you change your behaviors, change your results. So start off thinking generally, and then become more and more specific. And by the way, it is your behavior under stress that determines who you are as a human being. It's not what you do when things are sweet and everything's going fine. It's what you do when hits the fan. And so basically, I asked the question. I was giving my seminar, my 3-day workshop. I bring 12 people down to my offices here in San Diego, and we work with them for 3 full days to teach them how to speak. And it's quite a remarkable experience. But anyway, so I told them, introduced them to my group, and everybody listened to it. And I began thinking about it, and I began asking the question, and the answer for me was freedom. Freedom is my most important value. And I look back over my whole life when I was young and poor and coming from a poor family and failed out of school and everything. Freedom was my most important value. And then I looked at my behaviors and how I treated my family and how I treated my children. Is I wanted their freedom. It's very, very important that my children and my wife had freedom. And what is the fastest way to get freedom? Money. If you have money, you can do darn near anything that you want to do. So money is not a thing in itself. Money is the outpouring of a value. And my value was freedom, and the way that you got freedom was to earn lots of money. And I taught my children that, and my spouse, my wife, is I have only one thing. I am focused on them having the freedom to be who they want to be and do what they want to do and go where they want to go. And my children are now, I have 4, 3 are married with children, and they're raising their children with the same value. Is that's what they saw, that's what they soaked up when they were growing up, is freedom. They're helping their children to be free. Why do we want to have a good education? So that we know what to do. Why? So that we can be successful, so we can have freedom. Interesting, Aristotle, I started to study Aristotle so I could impress people and say, oh yes, Aristotle said. And Aristotle was brilliant. What he did is he asked the question, what is the purpose of human life? And at that time, most philosophers were concerned about the gods on Mount Olympus and things like that. And he said, but what is the purpose of human life? And his conclusion, which changed human life, he had 2 conclusions. The first conclusion was that the purpose of human life is to be happy, which sounds really simple, but you can determine how successful you are by how happy you are. And if you're married, how happy you create a world for your family. And so basically, you can tell when you're on track, because it's sort of like those machines. When you get off track, they go beep, 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 and you get back on track and there's no noise. Well, when you are happy, it means that your life is properly organized. You're doing the right thing with the right people in the right way. And so therefore, and Aristotle wrote about this in a book. It's the one book that you should read on philosophy so that you'll be, people will think that you're smart for the rest of your life. And it's called the Nicomachean Ethics. And Nicomachus was Aristotle's father. And so he said, he called his book, which was a whole series of observations on different areas, the Nicomachean Ethics. And he said the essence of human life is to be happy. And you are successful to the degree to which you can achieve your own happiness. And you can't achieve happiness for someone else if you don't achieve it for yourself. When I began giving my seminar, my Phoenix seminar, which became the Psychology of Achievement, when I began giving that seminar, people would say, but we're here to make other people happy. But one of the things that I learned is that you cannot give away what you don't have. You can't give away what you don't have. So if you're not happy, you cannot create happiness for anybody else. And if you want other people to be happy yourself. And the happier you become, the more happiness you have to give away to the most important people in your life. So there's lots of people who are miserable and complaining and everything else. They say, well, I'm not happy, but I'll make other people happy. And you can't give away what you don't have. And that was a great mind shifter for me. And so therefore, if you achieve your own happiness, you're much better at achieving the happiness of others. And I'm going to give you some ideas. When I do my seminars, I usually start off with a question. And the question is, how many people here would like to double their income? And of course, this is exactly. Everybody instinctively, the hand goes up. It's almost like attached to a wire. It goes, and it jumps up. And I said, great. I said, if I could show you how to double your income, would you consider this to be a worthwhile time that we spend together? And everybody agrees. And so I said, well, I'll give you some ways that are absolutely guaranteed to work that will make you a millionaire. And if you follow these ideas, they'll help you to double your income. And so everybody's now interested. Now I've got an attentive audience of people who are taking notes. And I say, well, here's a very simple way to double your income. And by the way, this is based on more than 40 years of research. I read all the research. I read all the books and articles and everything else. So it's very simple. You say, how much are you earning today? All right. So X, let's say you're earning $100,000 a year today. So if you want to double your income, then you have to earn $200,000 a year. Is that a good goal? Yes. All right. So here's how you earn $200,000 a year. It's very simple. As you say, you're earning everything that you're earning today by the number of sales that you're making. And you are making the number of sales you're making because of the number of people that you talk to. And so therefore, if you want to double your income, you must double the number of people that you talk to. And lots of studies going back to 1928, if you like, for what they analyzed, and they asked questions: how many people do you, new customers or prospects, do you talk to each day? And the answer is roughly 2. Nationwide in virtually all industries, it's 2. And so therefore, if you want to double your income, you have to talk to 4 new people a day. How many? The second question has to do with FaceTime. And this is sort of my contribution, is that you are earning everything you're earning today by the amount of time you're spending face-to-face with prospective customers. So if you want to double the amount that you're earning today, then you must double the amount of time that you spend face-to-face with customers. And we call this FaceTime. So I say, if you will double your FaceTime, your income will double. If you decide to double your income over the course of the next year or the next week, by the end of next week, you'll be earning twice as much. If you do it over the course of the next year, you'll be earning twice as much. But it's very simple. Now, we don't know where your sales are going to come from. We don't know if this person or that person is going to buy from you, but we do know that if you double the number of people you see, you will, by the laws of odds and probabilities, mathematical laws, you will double your income. And I've had people come up to me after my seminars and say, this is a bunch of bullshit. You know, this is California motivational claptrap. You can't double your income. I've been in my business for 10 years. You can't double your income. Just doubling your amount of time you spend with customers. I said, well, look, I'm not asking you to cut off your arm or sell your home or anything else. There's no cost to this piece of advice. So what I'm going to ask you to do is just give it a try. All right, just give it a try and then pass judgment on it. Okay, so give it a try for a month. What you do is you sit down and you calculate. And by the way, more and more and more companies are doing this, is they help their people to calculate how much time they're spending. And what I did, I was talking to the marketing vice president of this large company in Eastern United States. They wanted to bring me in to speak to their 300 salespeople. And they said, how is everything going? Well, we're having some problems. The market is down, economy's off, sales are low. And I said, well, your people are only working half the time or even less. And he said, well, what are you talking about? I said, well, the average salesperson in America spends 90 minutes per day face-to-face with customers. So that's how much you're earning. That's how many sales you're making. He said, oh, that's not true. Our people are very well trained. They're busy all the time. They're all well organized. I said, well, they're still working only about 90 minutes a day. And that's the average. That's the middle point, half or above, half or below. And he said, well, that's not true. I mean, our people, and I said, well, look, let's do something. For this upcoming national conference, let's go down to the Army supply store and buy a bunch of stopwatches. And what we'll do is we'll hand out stopwatches to everybody, all the salespeople. We'll have 300 of them at the conference. And we'll explain to them that everything you're earning today is because of the amount of time that you're spending face-to-face with customers. So what we're going to do is we're going to make a deal, is we're going to track the amount of time that we're spending. So when you go in to see your customer, click it on. When you come out, click it off. And you'll find it accumulates, it just adds up and so on. At the end of the day, write down the number of minutes that you spent with customers. Okay? And at the end of the week, calculate it and work it out. He said, we'll do it. He said, but it's not going to work because our people are fully occupied. And well, we went through, did the conference. Everybody's happy about it. Everybody agreed that they would track the amount of time they spent and that at the end of the month, they would hand in their records. And he called me back about 10 days into the following month. He said, I've got to apologize to you. He said, everybody handed in their tracking forms and everything else. And what we found that the average person was working 94 minutes a day. The average salesperson was actually face-to-face with customers 94 minutes a day. It's a bit better than 90 minutes, the average that you said. It's still 94 minutes a day. And they all agree that by gum, they're going to get it up. And the way you do it is very simple. You simply increase the number of minutes by 10% per week. So if you're spending 90 minutes a week, then next week it's 99 minutes. And the next week it's 110 minutes and so on. And so that's what they did. It became a sort of a company deal, and people handed in their forms and they handed out who was spending the most time and who had increased their averages and so on. They said then the following year, they called me the following year. Following year was one of the best years in their history. The market, the economy, sales, everything else was in serious trouble. But for them, they were just smoking because everybody, instead of worrying about the macrocosmic, they're just focusing on every day, spending more minutes. And if you spent 180 minutes a day, then twice as many is 360. In an 8-hour day, that's going from 90 minutes to 3 hours. And so you're only working 3 hours a day out of a 90-minute day. Can you do that? Everybody said, well, of course we can. I'll say, good, track it, write it down. Very important. I remember a story during the Vietnamese War when everybody was going in to be interviewed and clarified by doctors and psychiatrists for military service. And they all waited in line. This guy goes in, you've heard this story, and he goes in and he's being interviewed by the Army psychiatrist. And he said, the guy just said, well, thank you very much for coming. Now, why is it that you want to be a soldier? And, oh, because I love America. And why do you want to join the Army and go to Vietnam? Oh, he said, I want to kill gooks. I want to kill gooks. I want to cut their guts out. He said, I want to stab them and run over them. He said, I want to take care of them. He said, I can hardly wait. And the psychiatrist said, geez, man, he says, you're crazy. He said, write it down. Write it down. So always think of that. Write it down. Write it down. And so your job and my job is to track the number of minutes that we spend face to face and just write it down. It's astonishing, by the way, how much better you get when you write things down. Successful people always keep track. They track their minutes. They track their activities. We'll talk about this in a couple of in the hour that we spend together. And so what you find is people come up to me at my seminar and they say, you know, when I heard you say that when you were here last year, I thought that was a bunch of BS. He said, but I decided, well, I'm going to disprove it. I'm going to prove that he is full of S, full of you know what. And so I went out there. He said, I couldn't believe I doubled my income in less than a month. I've been in my business for 10 years. And in less than a month, I doubled my income. And I'm not working that much harder. I'm going from working 90 minutes a day to working 180 minutes a day. And he said, you just sort of get into the rhythm of getting started a little bit earlier and keeping going and not wasting time and bunching your calls so that you don't spend half the day traveling between calls and so on. He said, and I've never earned so much money in my whole life. So this is one of the things that you can do as important people in your business is to help other people to earn more money, to double their income. And the rule is that everything that you do helps or hurts. It moves you towards your goals. Higher income moves you away. Nothing is neutral. Nothing is neutral. Everything counts. Everything counts. Everything helps or hurts. And so your job is to help people and guide them to do only these things. Now, there's a very interesting thing in time management. I'm the top selling time management author in the world, by the way. I've sold 2.5 million copies in 51 languages of my time management books. And so I know a lot about time management. And that's what we'll talk about next time, Andy, in our next session. But the thing is that the way that you use your time largely determines your results. If you change the way you use your time, you change your life. And sometimes you change your life right away. You don't have to wait a month or a year to get results, to get different results. All you have to do is change your behaviors now, and the results will come very, very fast. And so that's what I've done. I started off poor. I started off when I was 23 years old. Believe it or not, I was an itinerant farm laborer. I was working on a farm during the harvest and living and sleeping on the hay in the farmer's barn. And we get up at 5 a.m. when it was still pitch black and have dinner with the farmer's family, have breakfast, and then go out and work in the fields all day to get the harvest in before the first frost. And that was, in retrospect, I think that's really neat. Itinerant farm labor. And itinerant farm labor is someone that they hire for the harvest, and when the harvest is over, they fire you. It's not a long-term job. And but the thing is that even as a farm laborer, when I got out of farm labor, I got into sales. And soon I got into sales and sold financial services, mutual funds. And so I really know a lot about what you do. Within 2 years, following the stuff that we're talking about, I had 94 salespeople in 6 countries working for me and giving me commissions and overrides. So I know a little bit about the field. And I went from basically rags to non-rags. And I made every mistake that there was possible. And that's when I began to study Aristotle. And Aristotle also, and perhaps even as important as his idea that happiness was the ultimate driving force. It was called the primum movum, the first moving force of human life. The second thing he said, why do things happen the way they do? And this was his great breakthrough thought. He said that things happen the way they do because of causality. Is if you do certain things, you get certain results. And so he came up with what is called the Aristotelian principle of causality. And what does that mean? It means that if you do certain things, you get certain results. We call it the law of cause and effect. In the Bible, It's called the law of sowing and reaping. And basically what it says is that if you want to get a particular result, as I said earlier about recipe, if you do certain things in a certain way consistently, you get the same result over and over again. And if you learn how to sell in this business and you do it over and over again, you get better and better, then you make more and more sales faster and faster with fewer and fewer mistakes. And there's no miracle to it. When I got into sales, I got no training at all. You know, the old joke, you get here's your cards, here's your brochures, there's the door. And that was the sales training that I got. And I went out and knocked on doors and talked. They said, you know, you're a good talker, so just go out there and you've got the gift of the gab and just talk. So I went out and talked, knocked on doors. I wasn't afraid to make calls. That's a great advantage. And I used to actually run from door to door so that I could make more calls. But I would make 60 to 70 calls a day. I just go from door to door to door, calling on offices. In the evenings, I'd go out and I'd call on doors in the neighborhoods and apartments. And my first year, I made 20,000 calls and 19,950 rejections and failures and so on. Well, about halfway through the first year, and this was a turning point for me, I noticed that there was one guy in our company, Pete. Still remember Pete. And Pete, I would come in the morning. I'd get up at 6 o'clock. I'd come into the office at 7:30 or 8. I'd work all day, and I'd go out in the evenings and work until 10 o'clock at night. Pete would stroll into the office about 9:30. He'd go out and make a couple of calls. He'd have lunch with somebody. He'd go out and make another couple of calls. He'd quit at 5 or 5:30. And he had a pocket full of money, and he'd go out and go out to nightclubs and restaurants and have a great old time. Whenever Pete said, anybody want to go for lunch? I mean, we jumped because we know that Pete would pay, because Pete had a pocket full of $20 bills that would choke a horse. And so one day I did something, and it was a life changer for me. It's a life changer in your business as well. Is I asked Pete, I said, Pete, what are you doing differently from me? How is it you're selling so much? And I'm working much harder than you are, but I'm not selling anything. And I still remember this. He said, do you show me your sales presentation? And I said, well, I really don't have a sales presentation. Well, what do you do? How do you sell? I mean, what is your work style? And I said, well, it changes from person to person. He said, well, come with me. Let's go and sit in the park. So we went across the street from the office into this park, and we sat on this bench, and I still remember it clearly. He said, now show me your sales presentation. I said, well, so we'll get in front of a customer. I said, tell them how good our product is and how they should have it. And he said, no, stop. That's not how you sell. You sell by asking questions and listening to the answers, and then asking follow-up questions and listening to the answers and writing down their answers. And only then, as you ask questions, only then do you suggest that you may be able to help them to achieve their goals faster. And their goals in this case was financial independence. And so these ideas, this product will help you achieve financial independence. And so he explained it to me. He sat there with a piece of paper and he wrote down 7 questions. I love 7s. Wrote down 7 questions. Question 1 is very general. Question 2 is more specific, and so on. And the 7th question is, when would you like to get started? And I wanted to buy my product from him. It was so persuasive. I wanted to buy it from him. And so I went out, and this time, instead of talking, I asked questions. And instead of jabbering about my product, I asked more questions, and I listened, and I took notes. And by the way, there's a tremendous difference between asking questions and listening and taking notes and not taking notes. The fact that you take notes totally transforms the feeling of the customer about you. They consider you to be more trustworthy, more honest, more intelligent, better organized, perfect person to do business with. They're just taking notes. And that day I made 2 sales. I still remember I was making 2 sales a week up to then. I made 2 sales in one day. And so I went back to Pete and I said, hey, that stuff really works. I just followed his presentation. I said, well, what else can I do? And I still remember this. He said, well, have you read any books on selling? And I said, books on selling? Are there books on selling? See, I love to read. I'm a readaholic. I think they call you a bibliophile. It's the official word. Just immerse yourself in read. I love to read from the time I was 5 years old. I read and read and read and read and read. But it never occurred to me that there were books on selling. He said, oh, yeah, just go down to the bookstore, to the business section, and look around. So I went down. I still remember the bookstore. I still remember going to the bookstore, going down the aisle and going and finding a section on selling. And I got a book, and it's called like How to Win the Game of Selling. It's not the correct answer, but I still remember the book, and I remember the author, because some years later, I was living in Bangkok, and this author lived in London and was a trainer. And I met him some years later when I was a sales star. I met him, but the book that I read, yes, it was called How to Win Customers. I still remember that. And the man's name was Hans something. Very, very easy. With Google, you could find out the answer instantly. But I read the book, and I read it from cover to cover. I read it over and over again. And I couldn't believe this is such great stuff. He's had 30 years of experience in selling, and he had recruited and trained for hundreds and hundreds, maybe thousands of people. So I read the book, and then I began to practice what was in the book on myself, and then I began to practice it on the people in my office. And soon I became a sales mangler. Soon I became a sales mangler. And my friends started to sell. And I began to recruit people and then train them and send them out, and they would make more money than ever made before. And they were happy. And they were happy because why? Because they had freedom. I mean, they laughed. Still to this day, I can see and remember friends of mine. One of my friends was from high school, and he was completely broke everything. In fact, he was in jail because he had accidentally come to the border with some very interesting inhalants that you're not supposed to have. You know what I'm talking about. And so I got him out of jail. I bailed him out. I took him and took him back to my apartment. I bought him all new clothes, and I just taught him this stuff. Today, he owns 15 companies. He's worth tens of millions of dollars. We're still good friends. Still in the same neighborhood, went to the same high school, and so on. I see him on it occasionally, but what we do is we communicate with email. But anyway, I still remember that. Here was this guy who had all the talent and all the ability and everything else, but just had not have been trained properly. And so that's one of the jobs that you do, is you train people properly. You train them how to double their income, and then double it again, and then double it again. And wonderfully enough, everybody who has a high income once had a low income. Everybody who's earning twice as much was once earning half as much. And so your job is to show them how to do it. So very much like cooking. You show them a recipe, and you send them out, and you make sure they follow the recipe consistently. And what I will do is I will give you the recipe. And I've written this all out here. Actually, everything I'm saying up to now is not part of my seminar. It's basically the preamble. So how many people are, Andy, how many people are actually watching this presentation?
We've got over 500 people watching right now.
Wow, because I'm looking at you guys. I'm saying, I said, is this all there is? No, there's 500 people. Okay, well, that makes me happy. So I'm going to give you, I put this together, this presentation, and I put it again today. It's really great. It's so many people have become rich with this presentation, with this method. So let me begin. I call it how to set and achieve all your goals. Because today we're talking about goals. At a later time, we'll talk about selling. And as I told you, I love sevens. And I love threes and sevens and 12s. And so you'll find that when we talk about selling, we'll talk about the 7 essential steps to effective selling. If you do any one of them wrong, or you miss out on any one of them, you'll not make the sale. Sale will kill the sale, as we used to say. So how to set and achieve all your goals. What I've come up with is what I call the golden triangle of success. And as you know, I've spent about 150,000 hours studying and teaching success all over the world. somebody asked me, I was doing a conference call yesterday, and someone on the call said, how many talks or seminars have you given? And I said, about 5 million. In the last 42 years, I've given about 5 million talks and seminars. And some of them were small, some of them were full day. And that was a little bit surprising for them. But if you add it up, you spend that many years, the numbers, tick, 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 they add up. So I've always thought, why have I been as successful as I have? And I've come up with like what I call the golden triangle of success, the golden triangle. And I love threes because 3 is a cosmic number, just like 7 is a cosmic number. So the cosmic number says there's 3. The first key to this paragraph is the acceptance of responsibility for your own life. The most important words that you can use at the beginning of your career and throughout are the words, I am responsible. I am responsible. There's nobody else to blame but me. I am where I am and what I am because of myself. If I'm not happy about my current situation, it's up to me to change it, not up to someone else. I am responsible. And I learned this when I was 21 years old and I was broke and working as a laborer and living in a little apartment when it was 35 degrees below zero outside. And my apartment was at 2 rooms. One room was sort of like the kitchen room and the other room was the bedroom. It had a couch that opened up to the bed. And then on the corner, there's a little bathroom. And this is where I was living by myself. And I said to myself, I said, this is my life. I'm 21 years old. I'm a long way from home and I didn't have any great relationship with my parents anyway. And I'm not going back. And this is it. And I realized I'm responsible. And it was even to this day, I think, oh, wow. Because if you accept responsibility, you find that leaders are leaders because they accept responsibility for results. They accept responsibility for results. And that's what happens is they are brought, leader coming through, move aside because the leader is the person who does not blame other people, does not say he or she did this or who did that and so on and so forth. What they say is, I'm responsible. I'm responsible. And the interesting thing is, I studied thousands of hours, about 4,000 hours in the subject. What is the difference between success and failure? Well, go back to Aristotle. Successful people are happy. And what is the major block to happiness? It is negative emotions. In other words, if you have negative emotions, they block your happiness. They put sort of a cloud over your life. So how do you get rid of negative emotions? Well, what is the cause of negative emotions? And the answer is blaming others. It's impossible to have a negative emotion without blaming someone else for something in your life that makes you unhappy. So when you stop blaming other people, all your negative emotions disappear. And if you do it habitually over and over again, eventually you're just a positive person all the time. And it's when I study this, I must tell you, I spent 4,000 hours and probably 2 years studying the metaphysics of human development. And when I stumbled across what I just told you, I thought, wow, if the great goal in life is to be happy, and what causes us to be unhappy is we blame other people for something in our life that we're not happy, that we don't like, if we just stop blaming others and accept responsibility. So the magic words are, I am responsible. I am responsible. Something happens, something negative, problem, you say, wait a minute, time out, I'm responsible. And people say, well, what if you go shopping and you come back to your car and there's a dent in the door and somebody's bumped into you and taken off? Are you responsible? In this case, you are responsible for how you respond. You're responsible for your responses. You did not bump into your own car, but now, time out. How do you respond? How do you handle it? What do you do with it? And what you do is you don't blow up and get angry and who did this and blame and so on and so forth. You say, well, I'm responsible. And I choose to remain calm. So what you do is you say, okay, what do I do now? What is my next step? And the interesting thing is, since you can only hold one thought at a time, positive or negative, if you think about positive step that you're going to take to deal with the situation, you can't think of anything negative. So you become a positive person. And soon, if you do it repeatedly over and over again, you just become automatically positive all the time. You become constructive. You look for the answer, something that you can do or stop doing to get the result. And you don't worry. Rule is don't worry about things that you can't do anything about. One of my rules that I teach is that in life, it's very. Let me clarify this. I teach that never become upset or angry about something that you can't do anything about. There's something that you can't change, and you can't change the past. So if something has happened and somebody's bumped into your car, or you bought a stock or something, or somebody cheated you, it's a past event. You can't change the past. So don't get upset about a past event. Focus on the future and what you can do about the future, and don't worry about the past. Most of the unhappiness, all the psychologists and psychiatrists in the world today are spending every day working with patients, clients, and trying to help them deal with past events. And so the most important thing that a psychiatrist can do is help people to accept that such and such a thing happened, and it's unfortunate, and you didn't plan for it, but now get on with the future. And don't worry about things that you can't change, and you can't change the past. And that's so amazing. You can't change the past. You cannot change a past event. And so therefore, focus on the future. Focus on the future and what you want and where you're going. So that's the first part of the golden triangle, is to accept complete responsibility for yourself and your life and everything that happens. The second part of the golden triangle is goal setting. This is why we're here today, is your ability to set and achieve goals largely determines your success and happiness in life. There's just something wonderful about setting and achieving goals so that you're moving continually in the direction of something that makes you happy. And interesting, just thinking about a goal that you want to achieve makes you happy even before you've achieved the goal. That's why we'll talk about this in a minute, but the greater clarity you have about your goals, the more positive you are, because you think about your goals. You think about where you're going and what you're going to accomplish. You don't think about things that you can't change, and you don't think about things that you don't care about. And so that's number two, is goal setting. Now, these are the things that I discovered in my life. And number three is continuous learning. And continuous learning, when I discovered continuous learning from that book, How to Win Customers, I didn't realize that there were books on the skills of success. When I discovered that, I've read now about 7,000 or 8,000 books. You see behind me all of these books, all these shelves are double packed. There's 2 books in each of the shelves, and there's books above you and books to the right and to the left. There's books downstairs. There's books in my living room. My whole house is like a library. It's full of books. And I love to get books. Here's a book on how to become a millionaire. Da-da-da-da. Here's another book, The 8 Steps to Success. Look at that. And then here's the inside the circle is you. I wonder who wrote that. And then, ta-da, The House of Values and Behaviors by Andy Albright and Jeff Bright. Is Jeff Bright here?
He's not one of the pictures, but he's watching. He hears his name.
So there's the book. Look at that. You see? So I love it. I my legs get weak when I hold new books, because I've had so many discoveries. You pick up a book and you open it up and you look at the table of contents and you go to the chapter that attracts you, and then you have something. And here's one: meet to learn. Meet to learn. Do you know how much faster you can learn stuff if you learn together? It's a really simple thing. That's in the book. Did you write this, Andy, or did you just have it written by? Anyway, my point is that one idea that is the right idea at the right time can change your life forever. It can change your life forever. I found, like, for example, when I sat, I'll talk about this. Why were my sales struggling? Why was I struggling with sales? And the answer was I couldn't close sales. I'm really scared or incompetent or whatever it was. I was not afraid to make calls, but when it came to closing the sale, I was not very good at it. So I made a decision, and I'll talk about this in a second. I made a decision to learn how to become good at closing sales. And I went out and I bought everything that you could buy, every book that had a chapter in it on closing sales. And I developed a structured methodology of closing sales. So I could make calls on the front end and I could close sales on the back end. And my income went up 10 times in 1 year. I couldn't believe it. If you can learn how to close sales, your income goes up like a volcano. Unbelievable. And that's what I did. And that's what you can do as well. It's amazing how many people are earning far, far less than they could earn if they just simply knew how to ask for the order. And then I didn't like pressure. I didn't like tricks. All the books that were being written at that time were tricks and how you could dupe people into buying from you. So I said, no, yes, I'm only going to sell to people that I like, and I'm only going to work with people with no pressure. And so everything I taught, I began teaching it. I've taught it more than 1 million people all over the world. My books on closing the sales, the best selling books in the world. And why? Because there's no pressure. We show people how to understand what people want and need, show them how to get it, and ask them to take action. And it's really simple. And there's no pressure. And everybody's happy. The customer is happy, and the salesperson is happy. So if you're having challenges with closing the sales, remember, you can learn any skill you need to learn to achieve any goal you can set for yourself. All business skills, sales skills are learnable skills. They're learnable. Everybody who can do it at one time couldn't do it. And then they learned how, and now they can do it. And whatever other people have done, hundreds of thousands and millions of others, you can do as well. So if other people are earning twice as much, then you can earn twice as much. What's the proof? Because the other people did it. At one time, they weren't earning as much as they're earning. Now they are. If they can do it, you can do it. Nobody's better than you. Nobody's smarter than you. It's really simple. Once you have that attitude, is I can learn anything I need to learn to double my income. And you do. And it's wonderful. It's absolutely wonderful. It gives you this great feeling of liberation. There's nothing in the outside world that can hold you back. And actually, you're responsible anyway. So you don't blame your problems or limitations on anyone else. You just accept responsibility. So that's the first thing. Now, the laws of success, I'll just give you these quickly. I talked to you about Aristotle's law of causality. That's the biggie. The fact is that if you do certain things in a certain way, you get the same results. So therefore, if you want to double your income, then you find someone else who's earning twice as much, and you know that that person was at one time earning half as much. And then what you do is you find out what they did to get from where they were to where they are. And then you do the same things until you mastered the same skill. Pretty simple. And people say, it can't be that simple. I say, well, disprove it. And prove to me that I'm wrong. And nobody can. Nobody can. They say, all right, I'll prove to you it's wrong. And so the laws of success are, first of all, the law of cause and effect. And I'm sorry, not the law of cause and effect. Whatever you do, you get certain results. So if you want to double your income, find somebody who's earning twice as much. Like I went and I asked Pete. I said, Pete, what are you doing differently from me? And he told me. And for the rest of my life, I found that if a person can't tell you personally, they'll write a book on it. Or they write a book or hold a seminar or do an audio program. But people love to share their success with others. And so the law of cause and effect means that if you do what other successful people do, you soon get the same results. It's a law. It's not a hope or a wish. It's a law. And it's one of the great laws, maybe the greatest law of human history. All of science and all of mathematics and all of medicine and everything is based on the law of cause and effect. So the second law that I love is the law of attraction. And the law of attraction says that if you think about your goals and you write your goals down and you visualize your goals, is you set up a force field of energy that starts to attract into your life everything that you need to achieve that goal. And sometimes the speed at which you attract it is almost scary. Sometimes you'll have an idea, you'll see something on TV, you read something in the newspaper, you think I should do that, and bang, the phone rings and there it is. It's almost like a cartoon. And so therefore, be very clear, because the law of these laws are neutral. They have no favorites. They don't choose some people or someone else. If you practice the law, if you think about a particular result or benefit, then you set up this force field of energy and you attract everything you want into your life. So be careful. Your mind is very powerful. And the more you use your mind, the more powerful it becomes. Pretty soon, you're going to be able to think and realize almost simultaneously. It'll move so fast. Wow, it's almost like touching a hot stove. Wow, geez, your mind is very powerful. So it's really important for your staff, for your friends, and for your family. Teach them to use your mind carefully. Your mind is an incredible tool, and it can either help you or hurt you. So use it to help you. By the way, you've heard of the book The Secret, written by a woman named Rhonda Byrne. Rhonda Byrne went to my seminar where I teach all these laws, living in New Zealand. And my rep in New Zealand told me that she came to the seminar and came to the seminar again, 2 days long, and then came to the seminar a third time. And then she went out and she wrote the book, The Secret. And then she called me. She called me from New Zealand to San Diego. And she said, I'd like to talk to Brian Tracy about endorsing my book, because I did it based on all of his teachings. And one person in my office said, well, what's in it for Brian? How is he going to benefit? And she said, well, I don't have any idea. He said, well, we're not interested unless there's something in it for Brian. And he hung up the phone. And I only learned this much later, that this had happened. And so she said, well, who else can I get to endorse the idea of cause and effect, the idea of the law of attraction? And a group of friends of mine hold a meeting every year somewhere nice, usually Hawaii. And there's 30, 40, 50, and they get together and they exchange ideas and so on. I've been invited to attend several times and been unable to do it. And so they were having a meeting in Hawaii, and she got in a plane and hired a telecaster with a camera, and they flew up to Hawaii, and she interviewed a series of people, Dennis Waitley and Bob Proctor and Bob Richard and Dick Canfield. And so one after another, they came up and they said, what do you think about the law of attraction? And they said, oh, it's a great law, works wonderfully. And it just hit, and like a stroke of lightning. And then they sent this to, they cleaned it up and sent it to Oprah. And Oprah said, well, this is a perfect subject for what we talk about. So she invited them all up to be interviewed on television, international television. And all of those people's income doubled and tripled, because you'll see them. They'll say it's a star of the secret, star of the secret, the star of the secret. So they're all stars of the secret. And basically, they just put a blanket on the wall and they stood there and said, what do you think about the law of attraction? Really good. Okay, next. And so now you see they're all stars. And it was all, fortunately, they told me, it was all from my seminar, The Psychology of Achievement, where I teach actually over the course of 2 days, I teach 32 different laws. And in the beginning, the first session, we teach 7 laws. And one of the 7 laws is the law of attraction. And that caused the book, The Secret, to be written, and everybody to become successful and happy. Wonderful. So anyway, so the law of attraction, remember, it works. It's neutral. It works for you. It works 24 hours a day. Your mind is very powerful. Your mind is like a very powerful gun. And if you shoot this gun, it's going to go off and it's going to destroy whatever is in front of it. I just got a series of photographs, and I'll send them to you. It's an email, and it's something like 20 photographs that made history. And one of them shows Hitler and one of his senior officers, and they're looking at this cannon, which is the biggest cannon in history. And you could shoot. It's unbelievable. It's absolutely on railroad tracks. and you could roll it up, and then you could fire it, and it could destroy a small town over the horizon. And so the picture is really impressive. The biggest single gun in history. I'll send you a copy of a whole bunch of photographs, of which that is one of them. Very interesting. Some friend of mine had assembled these photos, and very impressive. But my point is that your mind is also like this great gun. You have incredible power in the way that you think. And if you think really clearly with tremendous emotion and energy and so on, it's astonishing what happens in your life. And so the third law is the law of persistence. You'll find that every single successful person from prehistory to now will say that the reason I'm successful is because I refuse to quit. I refuse to give up. I just continue to persist. It never occurred to me that I would quit. And that's really important. What you do is you take the idea of persistence and you say, no matter what happens, I'm never going to quit. And once you've taken that, you take the idea of quitting off the table. That's now let's get on with life, because the idea of quitting is not even a consideration. Many years ago, when I was going out with a girl, I was single, and I still remember her name was Heather, and she was very thoughtful, very smart girl. And she said, "May I ask you a question?" I said, "Sure." She said, "What is your most important principle in life? What's your most important quality?" And I thought, I never thought about that. I put that question to you, by the way. If someone in your family were to ask you, what is your most important quality? What would be your answer? So I thought about it, and I said, my most important quality is I am unstoppable. You're unstoppable. I'm unstoppable. I won't quit. I've looked over my life. I've looked at my life experiences. By this time, I had traveled in more than 80 countries, and I had been in some very interesting experiences. And I'd had lots of opportunities to quit, and I just never quit. And she said, "Oh, that's interesting." And afterwards, I thought about that. And I asked you, what is your most important quality? Ask each person, what is it? And you can only tell what a quality is by looking at what you have done in the past under pressure, where the shit hits the fan and you have a choice and you can go one way or the other. What did you do? That's how you can tell what it is. It's not what you would like to have as a quality sometime in the future. It's what you demonstrated when it was necessary. Now, here's something I began teaching in my classes. And as I've told you, I've spoken to more than 5 million people in more than 5,000 talks. And I said, how would you like to double your incomes? Question. Well, the answer is everybody wants to double their income. So how do you do it? Is what you do is you start and don't quit. I said, what is the most important principle for success in selling? It's persistence. It's your willingness to persist. It's your ability to become unstoppable. Now, how do you become unstoppable? Well, here's what I've discovered, is that you become what you think about most of the time. You become what you think about most of the time. Well, you also become what you say to yourself most of the time. It's called the law of affirmation. Whatever you say to yourself actually becomes your reality. And so if you want to become unstoppable, how do you do it? Well, you simply say the magic words, I am unstoppable. I am unstoppable. And so I say to the audience, I say, all right, please say those words. Just say, I am unstoppable. And the first time they'll go mumble, mumble, mutter, I'm unstoppable. I said, no. Come on. Well, let's say it like you really mean it. Say, I am unstoppable. And so the second time you say, I am unstoppable. I said, no. Stop sucking your thumb. Say it like you mean it. I am unstoppable. And everybody shouts, I am unstoppable. And everybody laughs. I'm talking about 1,000, 2,000 people. We all laugh and everything else. I said, so from now on, because of the law of attraction, because of cause and effect, from now on, whenever you have any question at all, just say, wait, I'm unstoppable. I never give up. Giving up is off the table. And then I told my kids this, by the way, when my kids were growing up. I say, well, one thing I know about you is you never give up. You never give up. You're unstoppable. You're unstoppable. Oh, Dad, I can't do it. You don't understand. I said, I know more about you than you realize. I'm your father, and I know that you never give up. And so now they've grown up and they're adults, and they say, well, I never give up. I may have a lot of problems, but I've been programmed, like programming into the computer. I never give up. And so what I ask you to do for the rest of your life, whenever you are looking at any problem, say, well, I am unstoppable. I'm unstoppable. I never give up. I never give up. Just say that and say that. And you know what happens? It's accepted by your subconscious mind as a command. And your subconscious mind then orients your thinking and your feeling and your actions so that you never give up. And you know why people achieve extraordinary things? Is because they never give up. They become clear about what they want, and then they start and they just don't stop. And you can do it. You can do it. Okay, so the 7 steps to goal setting and achieving, and I've taught this to millions of people. It's a very simple process. Number 1, be specific. Decide exactly what you want and write it down. This is so, so important. My little joke I told you before, where the doctor says, write it down. Well, the purpose of that joke is to urge you to, when you think it, ink it. Write it down, write it down, write it down. There's something miraculous about writing down your goal and not typing. What they've done major studies at the top universities, and they find that students who write down their notes get vastly better grades at the end of the year than students that type them out. If you type them out, you'll forget what you wrote before the end of the class. But if you write it down, you actually, whatever you write is programmed into your subconscious mind. And then your subconscious mind turns it over to your superconscious mind, which then works 24 hours a day to bring it into your reality. By the way, what does it say?
I'm writing it down.
Write it down.
I'm writing it down.
The thing is, whatever you write down is automatically programmed into your mind, and it's quite astonishing. By the way, within a year after I began to tell that little story about becoming unstoppable, 2 people had written the book called Unstoppable. Is how to become unstoppable and becoming unstoppable in life, and something like that, because they realized what an important principle it was. You see, if you decide to be unstoppable, well, then you become unstoppable. And if you never quit, well, then you have no choice but to succeed. And it's as simple as that. And when you are clear about what you want, you start to get all kinds of ideas of things that you can do. So write it down, write it down, write it. Number 1, decide exactly what you want. Einstein said that you should be able to explain your goal to a 6-year-old child, and the 6-year-old child should be able to explain it to another 6-year-old child, and they should both understand it. And if they don't, it means that you don't understand your goal in the first place. So when you explain it, it's got to be so simple and so clear, not complicated or mixed up or multiple moving parts. It's got to be very simple. So when you tell people what your goal is, a child should understand that goal. And that's really, really important. Many people have goals, but they're too complicated. They're too complicated. What you want to do is you want to have a simple goal to get from here to there. Is I want to double my income. How do I double my income? I double the number of new people I talk to each day. And when do I do this? It's the first thing I do every day. And I don't drink coffee, and I don't socialize with my friends, and I don't read the paper. I don't take time off for lunch or anything else. What I do is I get up and I call on X number of people each day. And in other words, tell your subconscious mind. And so you wake up and your subconscious mind is going to be full of ideas to help you achieve your goal. Remember, the greatest problem in life is that most people are lazy. I wrote an entire book on that based on years of research. Most people are lazy. They seek the fastest and easiest way to get the thing they want. And what happens is they end up with not very much. So realize everybody's looking for the easiest way, which is good. It's smart. You want to consume as little, you want to spend as little as possible on something new. You want to spend as little energy as possible. So it's okay. But don't let it kill you by forcing you to think in terms of doing the easy thing all the time. So number 1, decide what you want and write it down. Number 2 is make it measurable. Make it measurable. A goal is not a goal unless you can measure whether or not you've achieved it. whether or not a 6-year-old child can tell you how close you are to your goal. So make a measurement. Now, if you're going to talk about being happy and being physically fit and things like that, well, that's something different. But if you're going to be talking about business, what we're talking about, then what you do is you decide exactly what you want and you write it down and you make it measurable so that a child, a 6-year-old child, could tell you how close you are to your goal or how far away you are. Step number 3 is to set a deadline. Set a deadline. You've got to have a goal. You have to have what they call in business, they call it a forcing system. A forcing system is something that drives you internally. And what drives you internally is a written goal with a timeline. And a child should be able to tell you that you're at your goal or you're not. So those are the big 3. This is the golden triangle, the big 3. Decide what you want, write it down, set a deadline. Decide what you want, write it down, set a deadline. If you, or make it measurable, I'm sorry, decide what you want, make it measurable, set a deadline. If you do that, that will change your life forever. Interestingly enough, only 3% of adults have written goals with deadlines. Only 3% of adults. And those people earn, on average, according to Harvard, earn on average 10 times as much as anybody else in their field. Basically, you can switch from not having a written goal with a timeline to having a written goal with a timeline, and your income will go up 10 times within the next year or two, sometimes within the next month. It's astonishing, just astonishing. People can't believe it, how fast their lives change when they write it down. Because when you write it down, everything you write down is programmed into your subconscious mind, and then your subconscious mind works 24 hours a day to bring it into reality and to bring you ideas and to attract into your life people and circumstances. People, when you start to do this, and you've all, I'm sure you've probably all done this, because that's why you're here on this call. So number 4 is make a list. Make a list. And this is really important. Make a list of everything that you could think of that you could do to achieve your goal. Write it down, write it down, write it down. Make a list. And sometimes you come up with 10 things, sometimes 20 things, sometimes 30 things. But make a list of the things that you could do. Get up in the early, start earlier, prepare thoroughly. Write it down, write it down, write it down. Once you have your list, and Napoleon Hill said this way back in the 30s, once you have your list, add to it when you think of new things you can do. Because once you have a list, you'll start to think, oh, I could do that. I could do that. And write it down, write it down. Step number 5 is to organize the list by priority. Organize the list by priority. What is more important and what is less important? What should I do now? What should I do later? Brief aside, now I've written 90 books, but I'm always very generous with other people who've written books. And there is a man who has his name is Jawal Gawande. It's not exactly correct, but he wrote a book called the Manifest. I'm sure you know this book, but it's called the checklist. That's it. The Checklist Manifesto. The Checklist Manifesto, as he shows, and it's a fascinating book to read. You'll just love this book. But he shows how everything in life is based on checklists. And he's a doctor, and he talks about dealing with patients who come in emergency conditions and are taken care of by several medical specialists, and who come in virtually on the verge of death, and everybody follows the checklist. And as a result of following the checklist, the patient walks out perfectly healthy the following day, written off as being basically dead, and works out perfectly healthy. And then he goes on, and he gets into it later. He said, every building is a checklist. They write down all these things. You put a toilet in your bathroom. It's a checklist. First you do this, then you do this, then you do this. You do it in order. You do it by precedence, and so on. And the book, I think, is must read for everybody. The Checklist Manifesto. And he's a doctor, and he's a very smart doctor. But he tells stories of things that were unbelievable, that were totally transformed because they followed a checklist. They even had an example of people were coming into the hospital, and they had this condition, and there were 5 things that you had to do. And everybody knew the 5 things. And so the person would come in, and different people would do the different things, but nobody wrote it down. So this person wasn't clear whether this nurse had done that or that doctor had done this or they had done this and so on. So very often something that needed to be done, there were 5 things, fell between the cracks and the person died. And they had an 80% death rate on a very simple condition. So what he did is he came in and he wrote a checklist, just a little checklist. And when the person came in, they had a checklist was stapled on to the person's chart, and everybody had to follow the checklist and sign it. If you did something, you had to sign it, the time and the date and your name. And the mortality rate dropped to 80%. It was just stunning. And he shows story after story after story about how your life has changed when you have a checklist and you follow your checklist and you keep reviewing the checklist and you keep, it's just the most amazing thing. So it's called the Checklist Manifesto, one of the most important books ever written if you want to be a huge success in life. You'll really enjoy it. And so number 5, organize the list from beginning to end. And then number 6, take action. Take action on your list. What is your goal? Take action, and take action now. Get on with it now. Do it now. And then finally, number 7 is do something every day that moves you at least one step closer to your most important goal. I'll repeat that. Do something every day, not 5 days a week, 7 days a week. First thing you do every morning is you get up and you get ready to work, and then you do something that moves you one step closer to your most important goal. And if you will follow these 7 points, decide what you want, write it down and make it measurable, set a deadline, make a list of everything you have to do, organize the list by priority, take action on your list, and do something every day. And the most amazing thing is your life will transform, and sometimes almost miraculously. And here's something that Andy and I were talking about is, what is the key to happiness? Well, the key to happiness is a feeling of forward motion, is when you feel that you are moving toward achieving something that is important to you, you automatically feel happy. You kind of shine from the inside. It builds your self-confidence. And so once you have built the confidence that you can do it, then you become eager to try something even bigger and even bigger and even bigger. And you become so confident. And if something happens, the only thing you ask, and my friend Tony Robbins is famous for saying this, is that there's no such thing as failure. There's only feedback. There's no such thing as failure. There's only feedback. And so what do? Is you say, all right, what can I learn from this experience? It didn't work out the way I thought it would work out, which is what will happen most of the time. What can I learn from this that will make me better next time? And write it down, write it down, write it down. And by the way, another thing you can do is share what you learned with other people around you. Share with them, tell them that this is what I learned and it really works. And share it with your children, share it with your friends, share it with your staff. See yourself as almost like a success trainer, and just share your good experiences with them and encourage them to share those experiences with other people. So those are my great keys to success. And if I had more time, I could spend all day teaching you these things. But I wrote down some other things here after I spoke to Andy. I wrote down some other things here that, oh, wow, this is such a great. Yes, I wanted to share this with you. I was struggling, living in a small apartment, rented furniture, everything else. And I said, there must be a system, there must be a formula for success. And by this time I had read countless books and articles and recruited and trained people and so on. So I sat down and I developed a very simple formula that I could use to increase my income, to double my income. And it had 7 parts. And number 1, and this is based on lots of research, is to arise by 6 a.m. each morning and get started moving immediately. Why do we say this? Is because they've done very in-depth studies of billionaires, millionaires, and billionaires. And I wrote a book on this, by the way. And we find that most millionaires and billionaires get up by 6 a.m. Poor people get up as late as they possibly can and put off starting, watch a little TV, read some coffee, read the newspaper. But successful people get up by 6 a.m. and get moving. So that's the first step. Read 30 to 60 minutes in your field every day. The average person, they publish now in New York, they publish about 200,000 books per year are published by the major publishers, and probably a million when you take all the people who've been self-published. But everybody is writing books. There's lots of wonderful information out there, and your job is to read 30 to 60 minutes each day. If you read 30 to 60 minutes each day, that will work out to about a chapter a day, a book a week. The average adult reads about one book a year, one nonfiction book per year. But successful people like yourself read one nonfiction book per week. Bill Gates is famous for his interviews. He reads two nonfiction books per week. And then he writes, he underlines, and then he writes down his key takeaways from the book, and he puts them on his website. And as I understand it, I can't guarantee it, I think it's available to anybody. You go to Bill Gates book reviews, and he puts down his ideas. Warren Buffett, and Bill Gates and Warren Buffett are good buds. Warren Buffett reads 5 hours a day. 5 hours a day. One of the richest men in the world. He's worth almost $100 billion, and he started off with little or nothing. But he reads 5 hours a day. And he was asked, what is your secret to success? This is one of the famous, one-liners. He said, my secret to success is simple, is I just say no to everything that is not the highest and best use of my time at that time. And there's never more than 2 or 3 things that are not the highest and best use of my time. And anything else, I just say no. I just say no. So if you just get into the habit of saying no, and then I read 5 hours a day. He just reads all the time. And he's quite a remarkable man. Quite a remarkable man. He holds a conference in Omaha, Nebraska every year. People come from all over the world, and maybe probably several thousand people. And he sits up on the stage with his partner, Charlie Munger. They've been partners from the beginning. And they just kind of shoot the breeze. I was going to say something else, but they shoot the breeze back and forth and share ideas and things that they've learned over the course of the last year. And people sit there and they take notes and they lean forward, and the reporters are there running their cameras. And there's books on the wisdom of Charlie Munger, also the wisdom of Warren Buffett, and the wisdom of Bill Gates. Now, these are some of the richest people in the history of the world, and they started off with nothing. So if you want to become wealthy and you're in the money business, then what would be a good idea for you to do? What would be a good idea for you to do? Well, read their advice. If they say do this and don't do that, read it and follow it. And now you don't have to do it. You do not have to do it until you have more money than they do. Then you can do whatever you want. But until then, what you do is you just do what they do and what they say to do. And it's quite astonishing, the results that you will get. It's just like we live in San Diego right now. And not far from here, almost less than an hour, is Tijuana. And at Tijuana, some years ago, there was a man named Caesar. And they made salads with these, they ran a restaurant and make salads, and they ran out of lettuce, normal lettuce. And so they had to use romaine lettuce, and they had to use different ingredients. So he created what they call Caesar salad. And he put together garlic and a series of other things, and he began to offer it, and people absolutely loved it. Today, it's one of the most popular salads in the world is Caesar salad. And I developed an expertise in Caesar salad, and I started to make Caesar salad for my family and for my friends and so on. And I became very good at it. And people said, Jesus is good. How do you make this salad? I said, well, you put a little bit of this and a little bit of that. Wait. So what I did is I wrote down the recipe. And I said, here's the ingredients. And here's how you mix the ingredients in this sequence. And if you do, you'll create an absolutely beautiful Caesar salad. And so people said, can you mail it for me? I said, no, I'll just put it on my website and no charge. And you can go to my website and you can download it. Brian's Caesar salad recipe. And it is probably the best Caesar salad recipe in the world. And so if you like Caesar salad, then by all means, go to my website and download it and try it out. But you must follow the recipe exactly. This is the most important thing. Don't go off the reservations and try this and try that and put in extra and delete and so on. If somebody's already done that for you, I have made every mistake that is possible for making a bad Caesar salad. And finally, I've got the combination where people who follow the recipe, their families tell them it's the best Caesar salad they've tasted in their lives. The first time they follow the recipe and don't deviate. Anyway, so that's the key is read 30 to 60 minutes in your field and then rewrite your goals every day. This is a trick that I learned. I read it in a success book decades ago. And what he said basically is write down your work in a spiral notebook. And what you do is you write down your 10 goals every year. Here it is here. My 10 goals. You write down every morning, you get up and write down today's date and your 10 goals, and you write them in the present tense as though they were already a reality. Because your subconscious mind cannot work on things that are not expressed in the present tense. So you say, I run X number of miles per day. I earn this much. I make this number of calls and stuff. You always write it down with the 3 Ps. The 3 P is present tense, personal, and positive. It's not like I'm going to stop sleeping in and so on. Always express it positive, personal, present tense. And that is accepted as a command from the conscious to the subconscious. And then the subconscious works on it 24 hours a day. I have, for 7 years, I gave a coaching program here in San Diego. People came from all over the world, Singapore, Johannesburg, everywhere. And as they came in, I had given them a guarantee, is that if you take this program, you will double your income and double your time off within 7 years, within 1 year. And other than that, I will give you your money back and there's no charge for this coaching program. You come once every 3 months, 4 times a year, and I will take you through a series of between 8 and 12 exercises. And at the end of the day, you'll make a plan for the next 3 months. You'll go home and initiate your plan. Then you'll come back and we'll do it again. And I said, I promise you that you'll double your income and double your time off. But before we start, I want to introduce you to your new best friend. Here's your new best friend. And what you're going to do here is write down your goals every day for the next 31 days and see what happens. And so I would have them write out their goals so that they had a sense for it. And then every morning, get up and write down your goals again without looking at the goals from the day before. You don't copy them from page to page. You simply turn over the page and write down your goals from memory. And what will happen is your goals will change. The description will change. The order of priority will change. Some goals will drop off and other goals will come on, and it will change your life forever. And people who've been doing coaching programs for years say, this is revolutionary. Revolutionary. Just write down your 10 goals. And what that does is it programs you for the whole day. For the rest of the day, you're just a goal, a setting, and a goal achieving machine. You accomplish more than you ever thought was possible. So the next step is to plan every day in advance. And the way you plan every day in advance is make a list, make a list, make a list. Is never start off the day without a list. The best time to write your list is the night before, as the last thing you do at the end of the day. You make a list of everything you're going to do tomorrow and organize the list by priority, so that when you start the next morning, you get up and you immediately start on your number one activity that can contribute the very most to your life or work. You just actually throw yourself into it. Very, very important. Set priorities on your tasks and your work, and work on your most important priorities. Always ask yourself, if I could only complete one thing on this list before I was called out of town for a month? What one thing would I be sure to complete? And whatever it is, write it down, write it down, write it down, and then take action on that number one task. Get into the habit of immediately taking action on your most important task until it becomes easy. At the beginning, you're going to have to discipline yourself, but in a very short period of time, you're going to get such feeling of elation and happiness and forward motion that you're going to look forward to working on your most important task. Listen to audio programs in your car when you're moving around. When I started off with, everybody was listening to audio cassettes, and the audio cassette industry changed, and people began to listen to CDs. And then the CD industry changed, and Audible entered the market and basically consumed all the companies in the CD market. And now what you can do is you can call Audible. Here, I've got hundreds of hours of programs on this. You can get the very best teachings of the very best subjects in the world. I mean, you can download entire books, 200 and 300 page books with 50, 60, 100,000 words. And you can have rows and rows of books. You could literally go to a desert island and never get through all the stuff that you have. But people who drive around listening to music on their phone have no future. It's as simple as that. So what you do is you always turn this into a learning machine. Turn your walking into a learning machine, your driving, always learning something new. And stop it. You get an idea? Whew, stop. Think how you can use that idea. And then start again. Would be constantly learning new stuff. Remember, the number one goal in life is to be happy. And the way that you are happy is when you feel that you're moving forward. You're making progress. So number 6 is ask the two big questions, magic questions, after every situation. And the two questions, and these will make you rich, by the way, are what did I do right? And number 2, what would I do differently if I was to do this over? So every time you make a sales call, immediately after the sales call, you do a down dump and you review your performance. You say, okay, what did I do right in that call? Well, I was prepared. I was on time. I was 5 minutes early. I had all my material, whatever it is, you did, even if it was a disaster, you did some things right. So the key is to review what you did right and reinforce that into your subconscious mind. And then question number 2 is what would I do differently next time? How could I improve it? And the answers to both of these questions are positive. So you don't beat yourself up. This is a terrible thing. People say, oh, if I prepared better or come earlier or something. But what that does is that programs you for failure. It programs you to do the negative things next time. So you always ask, and those 2 questions will make you rich. I promise you, they're so simple. When I learned these many years ago, I couldn't believe it. It's what did I do right? What would I do differently? And then write down the answer. Write it down, write it down, write it down. When I was knocking on doors and I made a sales call and I came out into the lobby, I would sit down there and I would write down the answers to these questions. And sometimes there's lots of answers. It's not just something simple as I would write it down, write it down. When I was giving speeches to 5 and 10 and 20,000 people, after I'd given the talk, I would immediately pull myself back and what did I do right? What would I do differently? What this does is it slams your foot on the accelerator of your speed of learning. You learn and become better so much faster. It's unbelievable. It's wonderful. You write it down, and then next time, just before you go in to see a prospective customer, you review what you did last time. Just review it, right? What did I do right last time? What would I do differently this time? And then go in. And when you come back out, do it again. Your speed of learning is so fast. I mean, it just makes me happy even to pass this on to you because it transforms your life. So I made a deal that would be very simple, is how would you like to increase your income by 10 times? And I was making $1,440 a year at that time. And so I began to use this formula that I'm talking about here. And I was going to increase my income by 10 times in 10 years. Here's my thinking. I thought if you could increase your income by 25% per year, that would be 2% a month. 2% a month times 12 months is about 25%. If you could do that by compounding 25% times 25%, you would double your income in 2 years and 7 months. If you double it again, you could increase your income 10 times in 10 years. Real simple, 10 times in 10 years. And it worked. And I began to find people coming back to me from all over the country, said they couldn't believe it. They just started working, increasing their productivity 25% a year. Time management, starting earlier, working harder, staying later, and so on. 25% a year, compounded each year, is 1,000% in 10 years. But what I found, because I was much more devoted, is that I increased my income 10 times in 5 years. And then I increased my income 10 times in 5 more years. And within 10 years, I increased my income 100 times. I couldn't believe it. Even to this day, I can't believe it. I live in a big house and a golf course and everything else. And I was living in rented accommodations at the time, but just simply working and increasing your productivity 2% per month. 2% per month, it's 25% per year. It's 10 times in 10 years. It's the most amazing thing. So therefore, just use the skills that you're developing, listen to audio tapes, ask the 2 big questions, and finally, number 7, the last key, is treat everyone you meet like $1 million customer, and start with your family. Treat everyone you meet like they are $1 million customer. Like this person can invest $1 million with you if they like you. And start every morning with your family. Treat your family like they're the most important people in the world. And the most amazing thing is that the way you start in the morning, the way you greet and meet and kiss and talk to your family, it sets up the tone for the whole day. If you tell your husband or wife that you love them before you start off, is that you are a totally different person for the rest of the day. And so are they. And you tell your kids all the time that I love you. I think you're the most important person in the world. And those kids just blossom, they just bloom. So you feel fabulous and they feel fabulous. So if you'll do these things, very simple, write down your goals, make a plan, work on them every day, and then work on becoming better and better, just a little bit each day. The cumulative effect, the law of accumulation, is one of the most important of all. The cumulative effect is quite extraordinary. And when you start off to increase your income by doubling your income, you'll actually double it and triple it and quadruple it. It's just an absolutely wonderful thing. And I can tell you that it works. I promise you. And everybody that I work with in my business and my friendships will confirm that it works. If you just do these things, get up every day, write your 10 goals, plan every day in advance, work nonstop on your most important goal. And you're going to be really successful. But more than that, you're going to be very happy as well. So that is my contribution for today, Andy. Have you got anything else to contribute or anything else you want me to say?
We're going to do this, Brian Tracy. I promise you, we're going to do as you have commanded. And we're going to prove you right. We're not going to prove you wrong. We're going to prove you right, buddy.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And boy, that is really a great attitude. That's really a great attitude. And tell each person that you know they can do it. Tell your kids how good they are, and tell your spouse how good he or she is. Just spread light wherever you go, and it's really quite remarkable. There's no downside. You know, a single word that we've talked about here, there is no downside. It's all upside.
The Alliance loves Brian Tracy. We love you. We love your books. We love your simplicity and your clearness in what we're going to do. And listen to this. Here's what we're going to do. in 1 month, in the month of June, you got a chance to put your numbers up because Brian Tracy is going to come back June 30th, and we're going to work on time management, TikTok, right? TikTok, right now or now. There's your choices. And he's going to do an incredible job on how we can speed things up in our life. I tell him, Brian, all of them make the same amount of money I do. They just do it in a longer period of time. They need to do it in a shorter period of time. That's the only difference.
Faster, do it faster.
That's all you got to do is do it faster. So he's going to give you those secrets. So a month from now, we come back and our titles, agency manager, national manager, district manager, our incomes, the number of people we've got booked into family reunion, where Brian Tracy will be speaking again. We're going to kill it, guys. It's on like Donkey Kong. Mr. Tracy, Brian Tracy, we love you. We're proud of you. Congratulations on your success. Congratulations on how many lives you've changed all over the world. It has to be an incredible feeling. We thank you and we appreciate you.
Thank you, Andy. Thank you, everybody. I look forward to next time.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Adios.